the most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Fouché Way radio show, live every Thursday at 1 o'clock p.m., sponsored by a nonprofit organization called Canine Hope for Improvement Program, where we hope to improve the quality of our dogs' lives by moving towards a no-kill society. The number here is 818-602-4929. Well, happy Thursday to everyone. We have a full show today, so I'm going to get right to it. You know, it is said that for a human being to understand another, we must see things from their point of view. How then can we truly understand our dogs if we are not seeing things from their point of view? You see, we have never been taught that their point of view was possible. And so the way we chose to communicate was like we do with babies. We have always had an elementary way of thinking of our dogs. Very animated, with excitement, baby talk, toys, cute clothing, and treats for tricks. Never from their perspective. Never looking at them as a whole, well-rounded creature. We have taken one aspect of their nature and singled it out. We relate to their predatory instincts. That's something that is as old as the word dog itself, existing long before the animal was grafted from the wolf. These instincts, so hardwired, so ingrained into the creature, but only to help them to survive, giving it a strength to kill so that it could eat to live. And because that trait stood out so well, we ignored the other attributes. The attributes that, if were enhanced, could help them to become more efficient in every aspect of their existence, not just hunting. Their social skills and qualities were far more important. They needed them to survive. And today, those social skills are even more important if they are to serve with us. You see, we kill them because of their inability to socialize, not just with us, but with their own kind. We may, so many years of evolution, have reduced them to squeaky toys, frisbees, balls, and pool ropes. This is an artificial reality. And why do we do this? Because we are trying to relate. But the very way that we choose to relate with our dogs is the thing that gets them killed. It reminds me of an old love statement. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. 1, I buy you all the balls you want. 2, I play tug of war for hours. 3, I chase you and I let you chase me. 4, I buy you things that squeak and look like real animals. We say, I give you everything. Why do you act this way? Why don't you like that man and woman? Why don't you like those dogs over there? These are the questions that we ask ourselves when they act up. But I will say, we set them in motion, hurtling towards a destiny that they did not choose, nor can they avoid. They are simply victims of a false reality that we create. And so for our first guest, she has chosen a reality by gathering information from the Fouché Way many years ago that allowed her to take a dog that had all the odds stacked against him. He was big. He was a pit bull. He was black in color. He had cropped ears. He had scars all over his head. and he had a severe case of separation anxiety. I'm talking about my man Clancy. He was an OG. We call that an original gangster from the hood. And she brought him to me and said, Brandon, what do you think? Does he live or does he die? When I saw him, it reminded me of every dog I have taken in for me. He was a three-striker. He was a dead dog walking, but he was really a diamond in the rough, waiting to be buffed off and given to her so that she could polish him up and show him off and make him a star. I'm talking about Lori from Downtown Dog Rescue, who has come a long way, and Clancy proves it. Lori, I am sure you are missing this dog.
Yes, every hour. Yeah, every hour of every day since he left on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
We put him down. He had prostate cancer.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's never easy, and we actually never really realize how much of an impact that our dogs have on us until they're gone. It's just like with people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you did so much with Clancy. He had so many odds against him. I mean, you took a chance with this dog, and you opened your heart, and he took it. He took it, you know. And so, you know, there are many listeners that love Clancy that are on the line, and I wanted to have you on because Clancy touched my life, you know, not as much as he touched yours, you know, from a different perspective, but I wanted you to come on and, you know, and let's give him the tribute, you know, that he deserves, and for you to talk a little bit about him. I mean, there are many people who are missing dogs today for whatever reason, and, you know, I'm sure that they are with you.
Well, the first thing I always, people compliment how great he was. He was, you know, he tested. He was a therapy dog. He went to schools. He was on TV. He's been in books, magazines. He did it all. But it's really important, everybody that's listening that, you know, knew him or has seen his picture or whatever. This dog also got into, and Brandon took the phone calls, some hellacious fights. So even though, you know, Brandon can assess the dog and say it's great and everything, it's not a straight path. And, you know, now looking back, it's you know, very, very clear, you know, that while the fights, you know, were not good, you know, 2 were with other dogs and 2 were with himself, you know, just from the separation anxiety. You know, he was definitely sent to me, as Brandon said many times, you know, if you just get all easy dogs, you're never going to learn anything. So he sure, I mean, he was wonderful to have with me, but he taught me so much in a way that, you know, no human could ever teach me.
They keep you on your toes. They keep you sharp.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could never, I mean, love and affection. I mean, this guy, used to watch him when, especially with women, would kiss him and say, oh, he's so cute. Look at his old face and all the gray in his face. And, you know, and he would just take advantage of him. I mean, every chance he would get, you know, it's just, we did not have a relationship based on love and affection. That was for sure.
Yeah, it was based on leadership. And to a dog,
that's right.
To a dog, that is love and affection.
Mm-hmm.
They want to feel
Absolutely.
secure. They want to feel secure just like people. And we can do as much as we want for dogs, as much as we want for people, but if they don't feel secure, they don't believe us, then they're not going to be satisfied. And you gave this guy a chance. You did everything with him. And that's what we ask from people, you know. If you're going to take a dog, take on the dog the responsibility of taking care and giving him what he needs, not what you think he wants. If you give a dog what they need, you'll have a better life with your dog. If you give a dog only what you think they want, you will work double time.
So true.
Right.
So true. And anytime I deviated from, the Fouché way, that's when we ran into trouble.
That's right.
You just, for a minute, you just remember one time I called you and I just said, he tried to bite me in the arm, and you're like, what were you doing or something? And I said, well, he loves to chase the Kong. And you're like, oh, wow, no. don't bring out that, predatory, behavior. And he had a lot of prey drive. So, yeah, you live and learn.
Yeah, we have to understand that when we get dogs from the shelter, they have been fooled with. They've been manipulated. They've been imprinted on, usually from people who don't know what they're doing. They're creating this false reality, and then we pay the price for that. So that's why it's important in the Fouché way that we understand why we should and should not be doing things if we're going to make a change in dogs' lives. But I wanted to have you on to talk about him because you are a person that has been steadfast in the belief in what we're doing here. And there's another Clancy there somewhere, and they will come to you. I have had many over the years, and I intend to have many more. And you will continue to save dogs' lives just as I will continue to save dogs' lives. This is part of what we do, And I just want to let you know that I feel for you and that I'm with you and that I'm here to keep you strong and to keep you moving in the direction that you need to be moving in to save lives.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Lori. And I got another Clancy I want you to take a look at tomorrow. It's a female.
I know that everybody and their brother is calling me with, I've got a dog, Lori, he's old, and so there's like 7 dogs lined up that I should be driving around in my Honda Element with. So, but the passenger seat is empty right now. So,
well, when they come, they come. Well, thank you, Lori.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you've done for Clancy and other dogs and other people. And we'll be talking soon.
Okay. Thanks, Brandon.
You're very welcome.
Bye-bye.
My next guest is Debbie. Deb, are you there?
I'm here.
I wanted you to come on because when people are trying to understand the Fouché way, there are many ways that we can link into this. And we all have our way of understanding, and it's very important. I love for people to come back and bounce it off of me. And you said something very interesting a few days ago about the Fouché way, and you equated to understanding and learning the Fouché way in relations to learning a foreign language. Can you kind of tell our listeners how you feel?
Yeah. It just kind of came to me, the idea that it was like the process of learning a foreign language, because I've studied a couple of foreign languages, and, in the beginning, you're memorizing some words, but you can't put together a sentence, and then you figure out how to put together a sentence, but you can't really have a conversation, but the whole time you're doing it, you keep translating it through English, which is your first language, into this other new language, and it's kind of slow and it's awkward, and half the time they don't understand what you're saying anyway, so you're not really communicating. And when you get to the point where you're actually fluent in another language, you stop translating it through English. You just think it. It's like intuitive. It's just coming out of you in that new language, and that's when you start to really be able to communicate.
Yeah.
And, so I was thinking about that in terms of what, when I first began to learn from you, everything you said made so much sense to me, but when I would try to practice it, I couldn't kind of link it all together yet, and sometimes what I did didn't really work, and I was still, translating it through what I had learned previously about dogs and what I'd learned about training and things like that, and so it really wasn't working until, I started to kind of give up that old language and just go directly with the Fouché way. And, I think that the dogs were able to finally understand me. And, and I think as I got better with it, and I'm not perfect with it, that's definitely true, but I think I began to understand them better and just be able to communicate with them better.
And you had something that happened to prove that. There was a German Shepherd that was in the shelter that everyone was like freaked out about, right?
Right. Yeah.
Tell us about that. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I was at the South LA shelter last weekend, and there was this German Shepherd that was charging the kennel door and jumping and spinning, and to I think a lot of people, he just appeared extremely aggressive. But I was standing there watching for a little while, and I could see his frustration, and his, I decided I was going to go in there, and went in, and I could see his uncertainty, and I knew kind of what he needed from me, and so I took him out and got him out in the yard, and wasn't petting him and doing all that other kind of stuff with him, and just kind of he became really calm, and he became really attentive to me, and I was leading him around, and there were a couple of other volunteers that had been seeing him over, because he'd been there since November. He'd been there for months. Were said, "Oh my God, is that dog in the kennel that jumps and spins and is crazy?" And I said, "Yeah," and they were so surprised, and they were like, "Oh my God, I thought that dog was horrible, just aggressive," and they'd just written him off basically because they couldn't understand what was going on with him. They didn't know what he needed, and it's just made such a difference in the way that I'm able to help dogs at the shelter now that I've learned about the Fouché way, and I'm trying to put it into practice more.
Right,
so.
You're actually flowing with that energy. That's what I mean when I say flowing with the energy. You have just accepted what it is that you're trying to do, and you're not trying to restrict energy by making him sit and stay and feeling that he needs to be calm before you bring him out.
Right.
You understand that energy is because of where he is, and then when you bring him towards where he wants to be, then he can calm himself down by producing the environment that he needs.
Right.
This
exactly.
is so important, and I'm so happy that you did this and that you're telling me about this, because it relates to me just like training. That training is what you know. That's the language that you know. And then what you're trying to do is the Fouché way. You've got to let that go in order to get this. And it is a way of thinking. So I really wanted to have you on because this is not the last time that we're going to be talking about that concept. I like that, of learning a foreign language, because sometimes it does feel like that, and I do understand. I'm so happy that you did that with that German Shepherd, and I know when you do things like that, it elevates you to the next level. And didn't you feel differently when you were able to do that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, it carries on to, every dog that I handle after that, I just, yeah. And I can tell that they can feel that too, because they react really differently.
Yeah, you're speaking their language. You are speaking their language. That foreign language, that's what they need. And when they hear you talking to them, they say, "You understand me," they connect to you.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to thank again, Deb, for coming on to tell our listeners that. It's very important, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Brandon. It's my pleasure, and thanks for everything you've taught me.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right. Our next guest is a gentleman by the name of Josh with a dog named Jolene. And if you were to go to our Facebook page, there's a video there of Jolene. And we want to talk about her today. Josh, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Josh, when you brought your dog into me, you said something that stuck in my head, and it made me feel that you were the type of person that when you stuck with something, you stuck with it through the end. And I believe the word was cynical. Was that correct?
I did use that word once. I'm a cynic, maybe natural in life, but yes, I'm definitely cynical at times.
Okay. And that's good, because you're the type of person that when someone tells you something, you're going to check it out thoroughly, And you brought your dog to me, but, in fact, I'm not going to tell it. You tell it. How was it? How did you find out about me?
I believe it was Yelp. I reached a point with Jolene after, we talked about this, that I'd been to 4 different trainers, or no, you would be the 4th, and I think it was Yelp. I just started doing research, and, one thing would lead to another. Then I read the testimonials, and, I just decided that you were somebody that I had to, track down and check out. It was like the best option out there, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I know that sometimes it can be a little difficult to reach me, because I'm always doing 1,000 things. But
a very busy man, it seems like. I get it. It makes sense. It's just like you're always, every time there are always people calling, it seems like, with the concerns that I have,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I just want to apologize for that, but I'm glad that you stuck with it and that you made an attempt to really get in contact with me and bring your dog in. And why don't you kind of just tell the people, after bringing her in, what have your life been like now?
You know what? My life has been, it's been awesome. I have to say the testament to that is the fact that I drive 2 hours, like I've added 2 hours to my drive time in a day
Wow.
to get her to Brandon because I believe in what he's doing so much.
Mm.
And so anybody that lives in Los Angeles, if you're adding 2 hours in addition to wherever you're going to work, that's a lot.
Yeah, and the price of gas.
And I think that, it's just like it's one of those things where it's like it's completely changed my life. My dog's life has changed within 3 days of her spending time. Actually, I would say she changed immediately, but it's been, she's been working with Brandon for only 3 days, and it's night and day.
Mm-hmm. And tell our listeners, Josh, because you have heard so many different ways in which to deal with this dog. And we just had Deb that was on talking about a foreign language. How would you equate this knowledge that you have now to what you've had before?
It makes much more sense to me. I think that especially just the way you approach putting yourself in their shoes and thinking the way they think. This is my first adult dog. She wasn't a rescue. I think if there's a little bit of history there, it makes more sense. Is that all right, Brandon?
Yeah, that's fine. Mm-hmm.
So Jolene was a puppy, around 8 weeks old. Found her on the street. She's probably a pit bull Vizsla mix. We're not certain. I call her a hood rat. But she's my first adult dog, and we started off with socialization classes, and the first class we went to, the lady was like, treats, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me, and I wasn't getting the proper response. And then I went to another gentleman, and it was all about, it's a pit bull, it's this alpha breed type, and it's all about prong collars and correcting him. And I'm like, well, my dog's not a robot either. And then I went to another class that didn't make sense, and I completed 10 courses of socialization, but my dog Jolene still wasn't getting it. With other animals per se. She loves human beings and such, but she was very well mannered. She would listen to all the commands, but I've learned the commands don't really mean anything now. But she had more aggression and towards other dogs, and was especially on the leash. So her life was very limited in that regard of her interaction to the other dogs. And at the same token, she was always jumping on people and acting out a little bit. Because like her name, Jolene, she's very stubborn, and that's just who she was. Mm-hmm. And then since I have a better understanding now of where she's coming from, based on our conversations and interactions with Brandon, her life, she's completely changed. Even the people, she comes to my office with me every day because at my company, and the people who work with me are like, wow, her energy has completely changed based off of just a couple of days of working with her.
Right. And you're learning yourself the body language of dogs, which is very important for you to know, because you're able to give her the room that she needs to grow to the level that she needs to be, Yeah,
the things that I've learned that she has displayed in 3 days of working, based on your principles, are night and day. It's remarkable how much she's changed, and it makes total sense. It's putting it into your everyday life.
Right. There we go. Well, Josh, I'm really happy that you stuck with it and you came to me, and that you will continue to bring Jolene to me so that we can get you to the level that you should be, and you're on your way there. So keep up the good work and keep me informed with things, okay?
All right. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Josh. Our next guest is Mia, and Mia has been around way before the radio show. She's a part of the Fouché Way team. She is a trooper. She is one that is working with dogs that have issues, and she has learned a lot by sticking true to this philosophy. Mia, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I wanted to have you on because you have a dog there that means a lot to me. Her name is Oreo, and she was one of the downtown dog rescue dogs, and she had got adopted out to a family that practiced positive reinforcement and training after Oreo has been through this rehabilitation. And she was returned for aggression. And you've had her now for how long?
5 days.
5 days. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the first day that you brought her, because you didn't know anything about her, you asked me a few questions, and then I met you and I passed the dog off to you. And why don't you tell our listeners from what you have learned from the Fouché Way and what you know about Mia and what they should be doing with dogs that might resemble some of her personality.
Yeah, what I do that I learned from you, when I take in a new dog, I completely ignore them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at them, I don't touch them. All I do is basically correct them because I have to bring them into my dogs and make sure that I don't have any fights. So that's basically how I treat it. And then what happens basically every time is that the dog, after just a few hours, they want to come up to me. They want to be around me. They want to follow me around. But I still keep ignoring them for a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start touching them a little bit. And then, all they want to do is follow me around. So it's pretty simple concept, I think. Not that I knew it before I talked to you,
mm-hmm.
but if you let them be, because of course the dog comes to a new environment, they don't know me,
mm-hmm.
they don't speak English, and the only way I can let them adjust is by just being around and see what's going on over here and get to know my dog and get to know me, and then they feel comfortable enough to be close to me.
Yeah, there's an old philosophy of people that can be and people that do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
what you're talking about is just being with your dog. And when you tell someone that you should just be with your dog, and they say be, how do you do that? We're still talking about how to do something. And, I like to not draw attention, do things that
mm-hmm.
draw attention to myself with the dogs, And
right.
I observe them. And what you have learned is to observe the dogs. This is part of leadership. You're not saying that you're weak, and you're not saying that you're being dominant. You are just existing in this moment, in the moment with the dog. You're occupying that space. And what
mm-hmm.
you have found is by occupying the space with the dog, existing within that moment, that this is an energy that draws the dog to you.
Yes.
This is what pack leaders do. It's strength of personality, not the brute force. Touching, as you have learned, can produce jealousy in the beginning.
Yes.
It can create excitement. It
mm-hmm.
can bring forth hormonal feelings that you're not trying to project, all in the name of love.
Right.
But that's pretty much the kind of love that humans understand.
Yes.
The way that we give dogs love is not something that one dog can do to another dog.
Right.
Nature teaches them that love means security, a strong
mm-hmm.
leader, the right kind of personality. Just being in the presence of one who is a leader means love to them, because there's no confusion there,
Exactly.
And so we have to look at this like a relationship, because I always like to relate them, because I believe having a dog is like being in a relationship. When you first meet someone, you're a little reserved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because you're trying to check that person out, and you want that person to check you out. You don't just jump right in it and start touching and hugging and kissing and rubbing and all of that. I mean, that when you walk away from that, we have a preconception about that person, right?
Yeah.
That they're easy or whatever. So
yes.
Because dogs are a bundle of emotions, hormones, and they do have the ability to be jealous of all the other hormones, that when we project that type of feelings to them, they form an opinion about us. And it's not an opinion of leadership. You become a member of the pack. And without fighting, you too begin to emotionally fight for the leadership position.
Yep.
And you've seen it many times.
Yes, I have.
So it's really important because you're a person that fosters, and people talk to you, and you have, a number of dogs in and out of your house. And, it's different from me saying, oh, don't do this with your dog, don't do that with your dog, don't touch here, don't kiss there. But I'm not saying that you can't be loving to your dog. Or you're not hearing that from me. But how do you feel, more importantly, to our listeners? How do you feel by responding in this way as opposed to the traditional way that we've always had with our dogs?
Well, I just think it's extremely important to understand what you are talking about in terms of how dogs feel about us and how they try to communicate with us. Because most people following the regular training aspect with dogs and this general conception that all dogs loves everybody instantly, and if they don't show this immediate affection, then there's something wrong with the dog. I just feel like it's very, very important to understand how dogs think, and also that dogs are different, just like people are different. So when I have dogs, they're all foster dogs are different, and some have some issues and others, but I always try to explain to the person what you are talking about, that, you can't just expect the dog to instantly love you. They need to get to know you, and they need to know that you are, a person that's calm and that you welcome them, but at the same time, they need to listen to you.
Yeah,
because otherwise there's no respect.
Right. I'm the part of the person that's adopting a dog from you, okay? And I'm looking at the dog, and I'm saying, oh, I don't know. I don't feel a connection, And what I'm really saying, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is the dog is not all in my lap and licking me in my face and jumping all over me and so happy to be with me, right?
Yep, that is correct. That is absolutely correct.
So that's the problem there,
Yeah.
And what would you say to that person? I know you've already said it, but let's say it again.
Well, first of all, I don't think that that's the right person for that dog. But the other thing I would say is that if they can just give the dog what they need, it even most of the time only takes a few days, they will get so much more back from that particular dog.
Yeah, because they're not saying, I'm weak.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's say you were to take your dog to meet someone, a friend of yours, and your dog began to just hang around that person, and when it's time to go, your dog did not follow you. They followed that person and jumped into the car and didn't come when you called them.
Yeah, that would be terrible. Yeah, I mean, you don't want the dog to do that.
Well, look, if when I'm adopting him, I want him to do that, but then I don't.
I know, yeah. But that's why it's so strange, I think, because you can just put yourself. You don't even have to understand a lot of how dogs think. You put yourself in that situation. If somebody came to adopt me, and they just took me, they expected me to be like hugging them, and they could pet me, and they could take me to the groomer, and they started. I mean, it's just too much. And why would I automatically feel so connected to them? I mean, it will take me as a person sometimes to feel connected. Of course, it's going to feel, the dog is feeling the same way. It will take them some time to feel connected. And a lot of times I don't think people want to even allow that little space.
Yeah, they want that instant love.
They want it instantly. Yeah. Yeah.
And things
And it doesn't really work like that, you know.
Well, I mean, it works, it happens, but then when we end up finding that there's a problem, when a problem arises, we don't know where it came from, okay? Because we can't believe that we were a part of making it a problem.
Correct.
And so who gets blamed for that?
Yeah.
The dog. The dog gets blamed for that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If he jumps out.
Oh, yeah,
right?
It's always the dog's fault. It's always the dog's fault.
Well, right, but, you know, in the Fouché way, what we're doing is we're trying to let people understand that the problem doesn't necessarily originate within the dog.
No, exactly.
Right, we have a part in that.
Yeah.
And you have been doing it so well. And what are the perks for you doing it this way?
I think it's just extremely rewarding when people listen and understand what I have learned from you, when I explain things, and I myself went through a bad situation with my dog, one of my dogs, which is why I know you, because you helped me with him. And I just feel like once they get it, because a lot of people will say at first, like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but then they take the dog home or I deliver the dog, and a few days later they call me because something is happening, and then I say, what did you do? And then we start talking about it, and I refer back to what I learned from you, and then they will say, okay, yes, we did this. We said we were going to do it like this, like you said to do, but we didn't. We did. We played with him. We did this and that. And then when I explain it again, then when they understand it, then I feel very good because I was able to help that dog and that family because of what I learned from you.
And, you know, it's unfortunate that, you know, when we have a little problem that goes wrong and then you call back and they say, Mia, you know, this is happening, and then you can straighten it out. But it's different when that problem becomes more emotional, hormonal.
Yes.
In other words, when there's a fight.
Yes.
Because now there's fear that has been injected into the situation, you know? And that's why it's important, really important, when you have multiple dogs, okay? Because jealousy is the number one dispute between multiple dogs in a household.
Yeah.
Because we make ourselves what I like to call a juicy bone. That one dog does not want to share its juicy bone with another dog, and that's the owner. And we feel like we've got to just give these dogs this love, this human type love, and we feel that they should be okay. You know, I have this little funny thing that I always talk about, that if you're in a relationship with someone and some guy comes along talking about you, and they're all over you, and you're a boyfriend or husband who's like, what's going on? And you're like, oh, honey, it's okay. He's so cute. You should be able to allow this to take place, you know. And we feel this way about our dogs, as if they should not be jealous.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
You know, and jealousy, oh my gosh, it can be so emotional.
Yeah.
For dogs, the hate, you know, it's like, I need to eliminate you from this pack.
Yes.
And how can we produce jealousy? By treats, by toys, by a lot of talking and paying attention and touching each other, right? These are things that are going to create a problem for you.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So,
big problems.
Right. So, so when you touch, what does that look like? You know, I'm spending time with you because it's really important what you're doing over there. When you touch, it's after, you know, a day or two, right?
Pardon?
When you begin to touch the dog, to show that physical touch, it's usually about a day or so, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It depends on the dog, a day or two. Yeah.
Exactly. And then when you are actually touching, it's not to get them excited, right?
No. I just touch them by the side of their body, very calmly, and it's just kind of like a non-action, if you will.
Yeah, it's an acknowledgement.
It's just they just need to like allow my touch, and they do. I don't do it until I know that they want me to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't sit down and like pet them, and it's just a touch along the body in the beginning.
In the beginning.
That's it. Yeah, and then, then I increase it when I see that the dog wants more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so quick, like with Oreo, for example. I didn't touch her the first day, but already the second day, when I put her out in the side yard with my other foster puppy, every time I walked through that side yard, she was like right by my side, like pressing up against my leg, like she wanted my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept ignoring her for a while, and then, like maybe the fifth time I walked in, then I just reached down and touched her side, the side of her body, and then I just keep increasing it, and because the dogs want me to do it.
Right. And
but I don't do it if they don't want me to do it.
Right.
So if you ignore them, they're gonna want it.
They're gonna want it.
It's like men.
Exactly. Exactly. And when you what about other people coming to the home and her?
Other people coming to the home, it works fine. Since my setup is that I work out of my house and I have my shop in the back.
Mm-hmm.
So I have people working in the back. So what I did on the second day when they came in is I walked back and asked them to come with me. And I walked ahead of them into the side yard where she was with the other dog. And I just told her they're used to it because I've done it now like 25 times with other dogs. So I just tell them, just ignore the dog, don't look at her, just keep walking with me. And she didn't do anything. She just sniffed them, and then that was it.
Wow. Well,
every person I walk in, she's fine. But if I'm not walking them in, then I wouldn't let people just walk in on their own. That I have not introduced.
There you go. And Mia, I'm going to have you back on again because we want to get Oreo adopted. I want people to go to the Facebook page, take a look at her, and I want to be talking to you about more of her and other dogs and how we want our fosters to be dealing with dogs that they bring home. Okay?
Sure.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mia, and I will be talking to you soon.
Okay. Thank you, Brandon.
You're welcome. Okay. Our next guest is Patricia. Patricia is a new member to the CHIP, Canine Hope for Improvement, and a new member of the Fouché Way. Patricia, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing just great. I'm so excited to have you on because you are a new member. You are dealing with the shelter. You're dealing with dogs. And just tell me, how does it feel to be a part of the Fouché Way, understanding what we're trying to do here?
Well, it might sound kind of sappy, but I could say that I feel like I finally come home to what makes sense to me because I've been aware peripherally of the Fouché Way for many years from my rescue friends and volunteer friends, and I heard little tips, and everything was, whenever there were difficult dogs, it was always about sending them to Brandon and all the amazing work that you did with them. So I kind of was always paying attention. And then at the same time, I was thinking I should probably get certified as a trainer so I can maybe help these dogs more at the shelters and the fosters and et cetera, at the rescues. And the philosophies that when I was looking to training programs, none of them made sense, so I kept putting it off.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more I learn about the Fouché Way and the more experience I have with it and all that you've been so generous to share with me, I can see why, and I'm so glad I did not spend a lot of time and money learning something which wouldn't have really given me the skill set that you've given me to help dogs get adopted out, as well as when dogs are in the home and there's a problem. I feel I'm so much better equipped to educate people, both the public as well as the adopters, on just some very basic principles, and everything you'd say just makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm. And now that you're speaking this new language, how do you feel when you see people speaking the other language?
Well, I have to bite my tongue, and I really try to educate them gently, and usually they receive it. I mean, just an example, recently I was at an adoption event, and I was the handler of a large dog who was very friendly and no history of aggression, and another dog was next to it, a 1-year-old Staffy, and there's a bunch of people and kids and all kinds of action at these adoption events. And somebody started throwing toys to this 1-year-old Staffy, and I very nicely said to the person who wasn't part of my organization, you know, it's not good to do that because we really shouldn't be getting them excited at this event, Started to explain a little. Well, lo and behold, the 1-year-old Staffy didn't have a history of aggression and was friendly with other dogs, started growling at the toy, and then started escalating, and the dogs around started getting so excited. And so the person that I was trying to explain to, who was resistant, got to see what happened. Then I took all the toys away from all the dogs around. I took all the bedding material. I took everything away that they could possibly chew on. And I watched all the dogs in 2 seconds completely calm down and just rest and go back to a calm and balanced dog. And it was quite interesting to watch that so quickly. Your methods work so often, so fast, if you follow them.
Well, we're looking at things logically. I mean, people that are there that we want to adopt a dog, they actually are looking for a dog that's going to fit into their lifestyle that's calm.
Absolutely.
So if they're looking at a dog that's calm, it's going to make it much easier to adopt that dog. Contrary to the way we think, we say, oh, yeah, we like to see them playing and jumping and running. But what we really don't want, we don't want the aggression, the dominance, the assertiveness. We really don't want that. But we never knew that we can separate those two things, and still be happy.
Right. Yeah, the dogs are traditionally, we associate their cute and fluffiness, and people get caught up in that, as I did everything wrong many years ago, and I learned the hard way a bit, which is why I'm kind of passionate about the Fouché way and helping others learn how to prevent as well as repair some of the behavioral issues that come up.
That's great. And that's what we're here to do. And I'm so glad that you are part of the team now, and you will be on the Facebook, and you will be dealing with dogs. We're going to have you on again because there is a dog in question that we will be talking about that you're working with that I think is going to be a fabulous dog for someone to adopt. And I just want to thank you for being a part of the team. And
thank you so much for what you do and all you've taught me and all the work that you do in saving these dogs' lives and bringing harmony to the families that are so blessed to be with these dogs.
Well, thank you too, Patricia. And we're going to be needing your services, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Brandon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Once again, thank everyone for listening to the Fouché Way radio show, and we will see you again next Thursday at 1 o'clock p.m.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.